welcome to another video. Today I have a special guest with me. You guys might know him. He's Sam from Fluid Social. I'll put his details down below. But basically for this video, what I thought would be pretty cool is to kind of ask him some questions, maybe specifically about Brazil, because he spends a lot of time out of the year here. And if you guys haven't been to, Brazil is like one of the coolest countries you can go to for travel, culture, obviously dating. So Sam, maybe like one of the first questions people ask is, somebody from London, why did you maybe come to Rio, and why did you fall in love with the place where you decided to spend like a considerable amount of time here?
Yeah, well, I think like Rio, everyone has like an image of what it's like, you know, from your childhood and from movies and everything. Everyone kind of has a feeling for what Rio's like. Everyone knows it's forest, it's nature, it's beach. Everyone knows it's Brazilian women,
Yes.
you know, tanned, sexy. Everyone knows kind of the feel in a way. Even before you've come here, you kind of know about it. So obviously that was innately interesting. And so I just wanted to visit here.
Yeah.
And so I came for a carnival in like 2018. And then as a gringo, as they call you here, with respect, it's not a rude word, but as a gringo, what you tend to find is that everyone says like, oh, you're gonna come here, man, and women are just gonna arrive. You know, there's all of these expectations, right?
Yeah.
People put so much expectations, and when you come and you don't speak the language, you don't know anything about the culture, and honestly, it's overwhelming. Like how many beautiful girls you see, like on this street at night where we are now, or you know, at carnival on the beaches. It's overwhelming. So almost everyone I know that's come here for like a week or two has felt like they haven't done it justice. They haven't actually connected with the women. They haven't actually met
Very true. Yeah.
the people. So you have this like looming feeling like you've left something unfinished.
Yeah.
You know, like you haven't quite experienced what it has to offer. So I obviously felt that.
Yeah.
And then obviously, as I'm a coach as well, back in the day, I just put an ad out for a client to come to Rio and do a course with me. And someone booked, and so I came out and stayed 6 months more.
Nice.
So came out solo by myself, no friends, no language speaking, and just to figure it out, right? I just wanted to feel like I'd figured it out, and it took a lot more than 6 months to figure out. It took a lot more than 6 months.
Yeah, so you're kind of like me. I mean, you're from an Anglo-spear country, so you're from England. I'm from the U.S. What was like, you kind of touched upon it a little bit, but going into a bit more detail, obviously culture here is very different. The dating scene is very different. Obviously it's more acceptable for like not only approaching, but just human interaction. So what was like, in regards to maybe the dating scene as you're dating some of the women here, what were some of the things that really stood out to you compared to obviously where you're from, where you grew up in London?
Yeah, I think the major things that stand out is like people are more socially well developed here.
Yes. Yeah.
And you see it every day just with kids on the street.
Yeah.
You know, like they know how to talk. They're confident.
Yeah.
They're not hiding behind mummy and daddy's legs. You know, the little kids, they're just like, they're walking around, they're using the slang, they're speaking to whoever they want, old, young, male, female.
Yeah.
So from a young age, it's ingrained in you to be social. Like it must be fucking difficult growing up in Rio as an introvert.
Yeah.
Because you've got like a huge family. You've got people arriving at a table who are all saying like, yeah, you feel you. Like, how are you doing, my son? How's it going? How's everything? Yeah, so I think guys, like young dudes, must feel a lot of pressure actually to always be socially switched on. But what that means in terms of dating, bringing it back, is like, when I first arrived here, I would go and talk to girls, and I'd be like, hey, I just saw you walking past and I really wanted to meet you. Yeah. And then I'd pause, right? Because usually there's this like thing where they're like taking it all in and coming to terms with the fact that it's happened and responding like, oh, that's so, you know, you kind of need to give them a bit of space to realize what's happening.
True.
Here, I would say that, and the girl would just be like, yeah.
It's
as in like,
normal,
as in like, okay, cool. So what did you come to say? And then I was like, so, you know, it's like, it's almost like you kind of got to, it's like asking the question, like, can I ask you a question? It's like, dude, you're already asking the question. Yeah. So coming up and saying, like, I wanted to talk to you, it's like, well, just talk to me then. Yeah, so talk to me. It's
not a big deal here.
So, yeah, what I learned about the culture is that it's much more direct, you know? if you want to talk to someone, you just tell them, like, why do you want to talk to them? And if you want to know something about them, what do you want to know?
Yeah.
Right? Where's the conversation going?
Yeah.
And if it's not going anywhere, they're often just going to lose interest real quick, regardless of who you are. So it's kind of humbling, because the women would just be like, start looking away if you're not expressing yourself, right? If you don't have something to say, if you're not entertaining, if you're not that kind of energy, you know?
Yeah.
And
exactly.
so, and that was the big thing, right? So you guys might be listening to this and thinking, okay, but I don't have that energy, you know, I'm introverted, I'm slow, I don't have that. But that's the great thing, is that you actually do have that.
True.
You just almost need the catalyst for you to express it.
Or be put in the environment.
Yeah, you need to be constantly put in the environment.
Yeah.
And so, you know, for me here, it pays to be honest as well, to be transparent about what you want, to be honest.
Yes.
Women are not going to like pretend that they don't know what's going on. Like, if you want to sleep with them, you can say that like early on. You can be like, I want to spend the night with you. And that is almost empowering as a man, to know that you can just say that and it's not going to be taken offensively, right? If you say it with respect.
Yeah.
So I think that's a massive advantage of acclimatizing to a place like this, is you realize that you can just be completely upfront with women about what you want, why you're there. You can make a joke, and it's like the stage is yours.
Exactly.
Right? So you kind of just step up and say what you want to say things you wouldn't normally say, make jokes, be more forward than you usually would.
Yeah.
Because people like that. People like fire. They like the fire.
Would you say, because I think all of us, or a lot of people that, you know, us and a lot of people that we know, if they tend to grow up as an introvert, would you say that if they're able to, let's say, work remotely, would it be beneficial for them to be in an environment such as a place like Brazil or Colombia, because of like everything you described? It doesn't have to be for like years, but let's say for a few months. Do you think like an introvert could really benefit living in a place like this?
I think it could go either way. If you're an introvert and you haven't 100% psychologically committed to the fact that you're going to push yourself and you're going to break past that barrier and you're going to get out there and approach, it could be miserable, you know?
Yeah.
Like, if you're an introvert and you come here and you don't know anyone and you haven't convinced yourself internally that you're going to use this opportunity to break out of it, it can be really lonely and not good.
Yeah.
However, if you're an introvert and you have committed to that, and you know internally that by yourself you're going to go out and you're going to talk to girls and you're going to figure through this, it's going to be life changing, right?
Awesome.
I've just come off the back of coaching 4 clients here for a 6-week course. So I run 2 or 3 in Rio per year, and like one of my clients, you know, we've talked about it. He's super shy, super introverted, like really like just been behind his computer all the time.
Yeah.
This guy's been with 3 women in the past week, and it's not a braggachi or whatever, bragging thing. It's like, for him, that is a significant change. Knowing that women desire him, knowing that he can just go up and speak and break past these barriers and sleep with as many women in 1 week that he slept with in his entire life. It's not about the sex. It's about knowing that you can take control of your life in that important area, you know?
Yeah.
And there's no point in denying that it is an important area, and we don't need to, you know, shy away from that. Like, that level of external, but people say don't rely on external validation, but that's the way that we orient ourselves in the world, you know?
Yeah.
If you think you're a god and you think you're amazing and everyone else thinks you're an idiot, that external validation is really valuable to you to figure out whether you're actually performing as you think you are in the world, right?
Yeah.
And for an introverted guy to be validated that women appreciate his confidence, appreciate him showing up, and actually like him, that's life-changing. It's life-changing.
Yeah, I would 100% agree, guys, because for you guys to know, Rio was actually the second city after Belgrade in which I took my second day game solo trip. This was the first time when we met a few years ago. And again, as Sam mentioned, like, putting yourself out there, people are super receptive. It's a great city to do this stuff. And then Sam, maybe as like a final question, more of like a general Brazilian question, because Brazil is a huge country. You've been to quite a number of cities here. If someone were to come and they wanted to spend some time in Brazil, let's say for obviously traveling, but also, you know, we talk a lot about dating. What are some of the top places? Obviously, it depends on the individual, but based on your experience, what are some of the top cities you think that as a foreigner, and especially if somebody's from either London or the U.S., where would you recommend them to maybe spend some time, and which cities in Brazil, along with Rio?
So I 100% recommend for anyone that hasn't been to Brazil, if you go to Rio and Sao Paulo, obviously the two biggest cities,
Yeah.
you shouldn't miss that opportunity, regardless of where else you want to go. Like, I'm going to recommend some others, but if you just go to the others and don't go to Rio and Sao Paulo, you don't really have an orientation of Brazil.
Okay.
Going to Rio and Sao Paulo are like the two sides. Sao Paulo is the busy, industrial, slightly westernized,
Yeah.
fast-paced business city.
Yeah.
Rio is the slow, laid-back, sexy, nonchalant, lazy culture.
Yeah.
And seeing those both sides, those are the two. It's like saying, oh, I want to visit England, but I'm not going to go like London. It's like, okay, fine. You might enjoy other cities more, but you should still go to London to orient yourself in the country, So if you do Rio and Sao Paulo, if you're staying 2 weeks in Brazil, 3 days in Rio, 3 days in Sao Paulo minimum, right? Over a 2 week trip.
Yeah.
Next places I'd recommend is Bahia. The women are amazing, really open, friendly, sort of like Rio, but in some ways even more open and kind and friendly. But aside from that, it's just insane. There's so many islands and insane beaches and secret getaways, and there's so much to see up in Bahia, which is in the northeast of the country.
Yeah.
Minas Gerais is kind of a Belo Horizonte, the capital of Minas Gerais, is kind of a boring city in terms of things to see or things to do.
Yeah.
But the people from Minas Gerais are so nice as well.
Yeah.
It's worth it just to be in a community of people who are super open,
Yeah.
friendly, sweet, just amazing people, beautiful women, really,
Yeah.
really cool people.
Yeah.
So I would recommend Minas Gerais, Belo Horizonte as well. Recife in the northeast is a beautiful beach town city as well. Very cool to visit as a foreigner. Yeah, that's what I'd recommend. And then I haven't been, but I've heard great things about Natal, which is in the northeast as well.
Okay.
Manaus, which is in the northwest by the Amazon.
Yeah.
And some of the southern ones, Santa Catarina, Florianópolis, Rio Grande do Sul.
Yeah.
I would use the time to travel. Brazil is the size of Europe, so you can travel locally via buses everywhere, right? You can take a night bus for next to nothing and see the countryside as you're driving past and travel. So I would use it to orient yourself with Rio and Sao Paulo and then travel around as many places as you can. Portuguese is important to know. If you're in Rio and Sao Paulo, the English speaking is going to be much greater, especially if you're in the best parts. If you're in Leblon, Ipanema, and Rio de Janeiro, and if you're in Vila Madalena and by Avenida Paulista in Sao Paulo, you're going to meet a lot more English speaking.
Yeah.
But I would also make a real effort to learn Portuguese. You can learn so fast, and if you just use that time to say, right, let me learn a little bit before I come, and let me speak to as many people as possible, and just embrace that learning that language as a goal of mine, it's gonna pay dividends.
Amazing. Well, Sam, thanks so much for taking the time to talk about Rio, a little bit about your background. For the viewers, I'll post Sam's channel down below. Obviously, he does courses, he does trainings here in Brazil and also in London. So I'll post his details down below if anybody wants to get in touch. I've been following Sam for a number of years now. I watched a lot of his videos, and we know each other now. We're friends. We've known each other for a while.
Yeah.
So it's always good to be in touch.
When did we meet? 2019.
2018.
2018.
My first time in Rio.
Mete showed up in 2018 in like the shorts and pulled up socks and trainers, and I was on the verge of advising, like, dude, no one dresses like that here. And then all these girls walked past and like looked down and started eyeing him up. I was like, wait a second. And this guy, you got so much success that time that I was just like, wait a second, I think he's onto something.
Yeah, that's why.
American style.
And also, guys, Rio is the first South American city. It was the first time I've ever been in South America, so for me, it's always going to hold like a special place in my heart. It's a really cool city, so hopefully, if you didn't need it already, this video hopefully encouraged you to not only visit Rio, but just visit Brazil in general.
Yeah.
But guys, thanks so much for watching. Please.
Final thing I'll say, just quickly. I've obviously, because I've been here a while, like I've got a big network here now, so I know loads of people in loads of different areas, foreigners and locals. So literally, yeah, anything guys need, obviously come to you as well.
Yeah.
But anything you guys need, just ask me about Rio, because I can probably hook you up with whatever you need here, literally whatever.
Yeah, man, here's a great social network here, guys, so definitely get in touch if you're going to visit, or if you guys, anybody's watching that's living here as well. But with that, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you guys in the next one.
See you later, guys.
Peace.